these are your words, not mine, Axel. But you guys are seen as the older designers. Am I right?
Not the older, the experience.
That's right. That's how
And actually, we're still the guys who are kind of leading this transformation process from 2D into 3D.
Meet Axel and Thomas, two senior designers on Adidas Specialist Sports team. They design shoes for 13 sports, including rugby, tennis, pickleball, cricket, weightlifting, wrestling, cycling, boxing, and hockey. Because of their innovative design process, Adidas is leading the market in many of these sports. These guys design shoes for the best of the best.
My highlights were, for instance, the moment when Alexander Zverev won the gold medal at the Tokyo Olympics.
Yeah.
So he was wearing the Ubersonic, which I designed. So I kind of also won the gold medal.
This is why I'm here. This is really exactly what you can do here. You have the most connection to the athletes, the best one in the world. This is then for us a little bit like an artist or an actor, the applause.
The Specialist Sports team boasts a combined 100 years of experience in footwear design. By adopting new technologies, they've been able to innovate their workflows to work faster, smarter, and more efficient. We swung by the Adidas headquarters in Germany to hear how Axel and Thomas are using Gravity Sketch to bring better products to life for their athletes.
So my name is Axel Riza. I'm born in Nuremberg and I started at Adidas in 2000. It was really cool and I liked sport anyway, so my whole life was always been connected with sport, tennis, hockey, field hockey, skiing in the mountain, bike riding. So it was fantastic.
I'm Thomas Michael. I'm footwear designer for Specialist Sports for 20 years now.
We calculated it together. I think we almost 100-year footwear design experience in the team. This is the uniqueness, I would say, that our team has, that we grown up in the analog world, knowing that world as well, and then going now into the next step into the digital world. And I think this is give us an opportunity and an experience not everyone has. I would say this is what makes our team very special.
Frustrations with the limitations of 2D design softwares had some of the team exploring other options, eventually leading them right to Gravity Sketch.
That was actually 5 years ago, when Gravity Sketch emerged here in the company.
Thomas came and started with it, and Rainer from our team, and I was observing, saw that they're sitting there with their Googles and with their joystick, and everyone passed by, and I was looking, what are these guys doing there? You know, looked a bit funny in a normal office environment.
Always was a Photoshop guy in the team, so I tried to get as realistic as possible, starting with Illustrator and then rendering with Photoshop. That was always my workflow, and that was my strength, I would say. And then I saw that you can do even more with Gravity Sketch. And I was always open for new technologies and was interested in 3D. But in the past, every program we tried didn't work for footwear because it was too complex. The learning curve was too steep, and so we couldn't make it.
The biggest hurdle for us was always that most of the 3D applications for computers were very complex. So it takes a lot of time and effort to get into that application that you could start using it, right? And this was always a bit like, I don't have the time. I have to do so much stuff here, and then do I want to really sit after work hours and hours on my computer and learning an application?
It was a kind of a pioneering time, and it was great to learn new things and also to question yourself in a way, how you worked in the past to get more efficient. I mean, you don't have to convince people. When you show it on either just as a screenshot or maybe as a little 360 animation, everyone, especially the designers, they get it immediately to understand the power of the tool and the time you can save.
I started a little bit and tried it out, and then I felt it's super cool because it's very intuitive. And what I like really is I was quite often here in the Maker Lab and do things by hand. This is what makes me creative, and when I sit there, do something with my hands, I get calm, I get into my ideas, and you have these two joysticks in your hand, which is a little bit the same thing when you're working here at the Maker Lab, gluing something together, sewing something, whatever. And this was then for me a starting point. And I have to say, for me as a designer, it's like you need to have a toolbox. You have pencils, you have a piece of paper, you have Photoshop, Illustrator, and you have different scenarios. For me, it's always been having the right tool for the right situation is the perfect one. And I think the extension with Gravity Sketch now is an add-on for us. It makes us better because if you have a situation where I need to convince somebody of a specific construction or whatever, I can use Gravity Sketch. And it is not really so complicated. And this is, I think, I would say the perfect advantage of this tool. Very intuitive and very fast to learn.
Gravity Sketch was a program we had waiting for many years. And because it was so intuitive and you could learn it so easily, that was definitely a turning point for me.
Since that turning point, the Adidas Specialist Sports team has logged hundreds of hours in Gravity Sketch. They continue to push the boundaries of how it can save time, maintain design intent, and provide an engaging, collaborative experience.
Grab a shoe. So the shoe is 3D. So first of all, most of the shoes, or most of the time, are having an outsole, which is made with toolings. You have to make them in 3D, and you have an upper, which is done normally in 2D. So that's exactly that kind of composition. You have hard materials, you need molds, and you need a 3D program to make it happen, right? And you have an upper soft materials. They will be flat sheeted, cut it, and then sewed together, and then that became a three-dimensional shape over the last. I think the 3D thing in general helped us a lot. Imagine in the past you shoot by side views, top views, bottom views, and then you have to draw it, and then you made 2D drawings for the toolings, for the outsole, for the torsion element or whatever you had. You have cross sections, and this kind of precision is okay, but you never catched it one-to-one. When you have now 3D, for example, Gravity Sketch, then you start in 3D and you have a complete different idea in mind how the whole thing looks like at the end, right? So this is a very, very powerful tool.
Especially in some areas of the shoe where it gets into 3D, where it wraps up from the bottom or in the heel area especially. You cannot visualize it in a proper way in 2D or with Photoshop, and there's a lot of guesswork in your sculpturing, and especially when it comes to tech packs, then you make sections, but you're just guessing how it could look. And with Gravity Sketch, this is much more precise, and you're working in a different way. You're not working like a drawer, you're working like a sculptor.
And then, of course, 3D helped a lot also to show ideas to marketing, to development, because this is the most investment, is the tooling. So if you convince people with a specific construction, and for example, this is the Übersonic 5 now, our newest kind of fast, lightweight tennis shoe. And we made a really specific construction with the shoe. It has a chassis, it has two-piece midsole, separated outsole, two-piece. This was convincing me a lot that it works on one side, but the marketing people were a bit skeptical because normally tennis shoes look different. So then we had at that stage Gravity Sketch, and we could really showcase how this looks, and this was really fantastic for the first time to show the teams how the shoe could look like without investing into prototypes and really convincing them. I think it's a powerful tool. The earlier you align on your design with a triad, and we call it a triad, it's development, marketing and design, the better it is, because then you can really start going into details. It has always been a huge challenge if one of the parts are not really convinced. Can be development, they say, oh, is it really, can it be made at the end? Can it be really produced? And then if this part of the team is a bit like not convinced, you have a hard time, because you start maybe doing something and then and they're always asking you the same. And then you should be a bit watching out and then be careful with that. But the more everyone is aligned, the better it is, because everyone is convinced, and then you can straight move forward. You don't have to do extra rounds of convincing people to show them that it is workable. I think the first time we showed it, they were really amazed, because normally all the people see product and design side view, top view, and in 2D. Now they got really moving around. You can turn it around during you explain it and present the design. And it was a very positive reaction. I think they got better in that way. They felt more convinced about the design because they understood it better. It's not easy for people who are not a designer to read a sketch or to read a side view. Everyone has it in a different mind how it at the end looks like than the final product. So 3D is helping, of course, selling the design better because it's more real. You can really see it in 3D dimension, and this is a very, for most of the people, helping. It's the advantage.
You have the tool to explain it to them in the right way. You can sit in the shoe or in the tool on the tooling. You see, you can zoom in all these little details like a section in the shank area. But look, you could really be so accurate, and especially when it's on one side you have to reinforce it, on the other hand you have to save weight. So to find this right balance is really challenging, and when you can zoom in so big and work in such an accurate way, it's definitely the best result you could get. Now the communication between design and development is much faster and more accurate, and I get back when I need to confirm a 2D or 3D file. I get back from development. There are only maybe small adjustments I need to do, and so the communication is much faster, and this saves time, and in the end we have more time for additional rounds of samples.
What we are doing now, and I think we are the only one who's doing it, we asked the technical team that they transfer their Rhino files into STLs, readable STLs, and we can bring them back into Gravity Sketch. And this is a very helpful tool when we, for example, redesigning new uppers. So you have an existing outsole, so we can use these real files from the tooling managers, bring them into Gravity Sketch, and then designing the upper on top, or just replacing parts, for example, new midsole, new outsole. This is a very helpful tool. That is very good because especially on new uppers, if you have to align things or design lines with the tooling with an existing one,
you get to a much more accurate result in a faster way because it's more intuitive. In the end, you have more variations maybe in 3D than you could do it in 2D because you wouldn't have the time to do all the different views. So you have different variations with all the different views already in one go, which wouldn't be possible in Photoshop or in Illustrator. And this saves the time. In the end, you could do more variations, or maybe if you're focused on only one or two, you can hand it over to development earlier and then get more sample rounds. In 3D, you can find your path much more easily. You really can carve it, you can sculpt it, you can explore things which you couldn't do in 2D, and this is also much more fun.
It's very a powerful tool, and it helps a lot to sell the design better and faster, but also to understand it better. It's really powerful.
The Specialist Sports team has used Gravity Sketch in the design process for shoes worn by Olympic and World Cup champion athletes.
This project, the RS15, that was the first project I did in Gravity Sketch, but we only did a new upper on an existing tooling, and then the next project was the Kakari, which was a TN, so that was the first project where we also did the tooling in Gravity Sketch. And I mean, it's a purely functional, high-performance shoe, so it's really essential that you do it in the right way in terms of the studs configuration. You need flexing areas, you need areas of stiffness. I mean, rugby players are really heavy guys, so it has to work for them. And to find this right sculpting where you need reinforcement, that was really much easier in Gravity Sketch to find out.
I think, for example, it's a good example where Gravity Sketch helped a lot. It's our fastest and lightest boxing boot. It was also in the Paris Olympics a product to showcase. And normally when you saw boxing boot in the past, they always had a flat outsole, very fast, a rubber sheet, then you had a little midsole piece. Normally the athletes like to have it really low to the ground on the forefoot. And here we tried really something completely new. It's our top-notch shoe. It costs over 200 euros, so it is a very high price point for boxing boots. And we thought we want to do something completely different. And I think at that time we started also in Gravity Sketch, experienced some new ideas, and we want to do something completely different. So we had the complete concept. We have a chassis torsion here. We have EVA in the heel, just only rubber in the forefoot because you need it. This was at the beginning very helpful to show them in 3D, the people, that they get convinced, because it was looking for some of the people a bit like, oh, why do we need this, and is it really needed? So it was really a very good example to show a different concept in 3D, and that helps us to sell it to the teams, to the people, and to the athletes, of course, as well, because we had also athletes' feedback from that, and then it was convincing them really that could be an interesting concept.
At which point do you feel like Gravity Sketch is the most valuable?
I think here in the gut checks. Here. This sometimes can delete one or extra one, I would say.
Why?
Yeah, because it's clear what you have done, and interesting wise, the people see 3D dimensional designs, even if it is similar to older ones in the past, different. Because of the style, it's more accurate, it's more a product, and they like it. It's interesting. If you would do the same exactly with a different tool like in Illustrator, they would say, is it really the new one? You could. People are very subjective. They think they are not subjective, but it's in how we realize things. It's sometimes really interesting to see what you can do with the tool.
So what's the power of removing?
Well, it's shorter timeline, so you don't need to rework it. In the past, we had sometimes, for example, normal Streamline is brief. Then my glasses. Design phase. And then tech pack. Then handover. Then comes the milestones, CR0, CR1, CR2. And then it's then finalization, right? And this is, to that point, I think it is normally in the past we had sometimes only renderings. Now we have real prototypes. So we changed really the process from where you were part of the development team. At CR0 we just showed final renderings and designs. Nowadays we are showing CR0 ready products to in all colorways and then testing with the athletes. So we have testing 1, then testing 2, and even testing 3. So you have more testing phases where you can improve products, and this is really helpful to have CR0 with samples. It's definitely faster.
So you're testing earlier.
We're testing earlier, we start earlier. I mean, the design phase is much shorter now, but we know where we are, and we can change, and we can start earlier with things. But we're also more streamlined in the process, and we don't have these kind of spinning in circles again. No, could be this. You don't need this. I think we have clear silos of each sport, yeah. And we have design markers, and you have overarching design markers, for example, speed in running. The Evo shoe, maybe these top running shoes have specific design language. If you want to do a lightweight tennis product, it has to have a little bit in this direction. So you have a certain kind of criteria you already know, and you can use this design markers and bring them into a tennis product, into a hockey product, into a weightlifting product, for example. And this is very much more efficient. You don't have to start every season and defining new design markers or new design lines. And we have creative directions. This is maybe the kickoff before here. They create for us an exhibition and show their vision. This is also what we can take, for example, and bring it into our product. So this is much more streamlined, it's much more fun, because you don't want to have iterations of design for a product, like 3 gut checks, now again, rework it here. This is frustrating.
Yeah.
Much streamlined everything, like when you're on the flow, it's much better.
As they continue to integrate Gravity Sketch, Axel and Thomas see the potential for more teams at Adidas to take advantage of this innovative workflow.
I think it's a great opportunity for people who are not that interested into 3D applications, the complex ones, to get in contact with it and to get into the 3D world. I think for me it's an additional, very powerful creative tool, I have to say. And I think I've tried a lot of different applications, but this is very intuitive and very easy to understand, and that makes it so powerful, I have to say. It's less complex than others, so it's really, you do it and there's nothing wrong.
It makes you feel much more confident, because you have something in your mind, you have a vision which you somehow need to communicate, and to find the right tool to communicate this with other people who you need to help you. That this can be a challenging thing, and in the past it was challenging. And when you have the right tools, you grow together as a team, and everything has the same thinking, and this makes in the end the performance of the design, how it works. And then when you get a 3D print back on the table and it looks really as you had it in mind, and you can say, okay, you go, we don't have to do any changes, then this is really a win-win for everyone.
I think internally sometimes we are working in collab rooms. I think this is a very powerful tool as well. First of all, you can train people, you can learn quite fast, but also you can discuss and reviewing designs there. And it's more exciting, it's not that boring, because you have more possibilities. You can twist it, you can turn it around, you can add on stuff and test things out. It's for me, if you do this, it's always been, the new stuff has always been exciting to learn, and it's been great.
Tool shapes you as a designer, and the better tools you have, also in the analog world. When I'm a drawer or a painter, if I use bad paint, I will have bad image in the end. And the same is in the digital world. The better tools you have, the more intuitive and more innovative you can, or creative you will be. And this will also influence the shapes you work with, I would say. With Gravity Sketch, you can create these really organic shapes in a very easy, efficient way. And I think this also has a big influence on how design is being shaped nowadays.
I have projects I really started directly in Gravity Sketch without any sketches anymore, and I was really surprised about it. Normally I'm always doing it with sketching first, and then I have a bit of an idea, and then maybe transferring it into Illustrator, Photoshop, and maybe then in 3D. But sometimes I do it now really completely just sitting in my office, Google on, and start from the virtual world.
Everyone has to challenge himself and try to evolve.
Yeah.